The metal door slammed shut behind Commander Sarah Chen with a sound that echoed through the empty corridor. Her hands were bound with some kind of energy field that made her fingers tingle and go numb. Two tall aliens walked on either side of her, their gray skin looking wet under the strange blue lights. They had too many joints in their arms and legs, which made them move in ways that hurt to look at. Chen kept her eyes forward and her breathing steady.
The mission
had gone wrong. But that was not the end of the world. She had been trained for this. Every soldier knew that capture was always possible. The important thing was to stay calm and look for chances to escape or gather information. The aliens pushed her through another door into a room that was too bright. The walls were white and smooth, with no windows or decorations. In the center of the room was a single chair made of the same gray metal as the door. It looked uncomfortable. "Sit," said one of the aliens. Its voice was like metal scraping against stone. She noticed that it spoke perfect English, which was interesting. How did they know human languages so well? She sat down without arguing. The chair was cold and hard, just as she had expected. The energy field around her hands made them completely useless, but she could still move her arms a little. She tested the bonds carefully while keeping her face blank. The two guards left the room, and Chen was alone. She looked around more carefully now. The room was small, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. The ceiling was low enough that she could probably touch it if she stood up. There were no cameras that she could see, but that did not mean they were not there. Began to hum under her breath. It was an old song her grandmother used to sing, something about a bird that would not give up flying even when its wings were broken. The tune helped her think. It also might confuse anyone who was watching her. Most prisoners would be scared or angry right now. Chen was curious. The door opened again after what felt like an hour. A new alien walked in, and Chen knew right away that this one was different. It was taller than the guards, with skin that looked more purple than gray. Its eyes were large and completely black, like pools of oil. When it moved, it seemed to flow rather than walk. "Hello, Commander Chen," it said. Its voice was smoother than the guards, almost musical. "My name is Zixara. I will be taking care of you during your stay with us." Chen stopped humming but did not answer. She looked at Zixara with the same expression she might use to study an interesting insect.
Oh.
The aliens seemed to expect fear or anger, but Chen gave it neither. "You are not what I expected," Zixara said, moving closer. "Most humans show more emotion when they are captured. Fear, anger, desperation. You seem almost relaxed. Should I be afraid?" Chen asked. Her voice was calm and level. "Will that help me somehow?" Zixara tilted its head in a way that looked wrong. "Most creatures find fear quite natural when they are about to be broken." "Broken how?" Chen asked. She sounded genuinely interested, like a student asking a teacher about homework. The alien stared at her for a long moment. "You are either very brave or very stupid, Commander. I have not decided which yet." "Maybe both," Chen said. "Or maybe neither. Does it matter?" Zixara walked around the chair, studying Chen from different angles. Chen could feel those black eyes on her, but she did not turn her head to follow the alien's movement. Instead, she began to hum again, the same tune as before. "What is that sound you are making?" Zixara asked. "Song," Chen said. "It helps me think." "Think about what?" "About you," Chen said, looking directly at the alien for the first time. "About this room. About why you speak English so well. About what kind of technology you use for these energy bonds. About how your species evolved to have joints that bend in so many directions." Zixara stopped moving. "You are studying me?" "Of course," Chen said. "I am a scientist as well as a soldier. When I see something new, I try to understand it. You are very new to me." The alien's expression changed in a way that Chen could not read. It might have been surprise or confusion or something else entirely. Chen had never seen a face like this before, so she had no way to understand what the expressions meant. "I am the one who studies," Zixara said. "I study how minds work. I study how they break. That is my purpose." "Interesting," Chen said. "What have you learned?" "What?" "About how minds work. What have you discovered?" Would like to know. Zixara moved back to where Chen could see it clearly. You are not behaving correctly, Commander. Prisoners are supposed to be afraid of me? Why? Chen asked. Are you dangerous? It's very dangerous. To my body or to my mind? Jun nodded as if this was useful information. Thank you for telling me. Now I know what to expect. She went back to humming and began to look around the room again. Near the door, she noticed a small pile of dust that had gathered in the corner. It was probably from the ventilation system. She wondered what the air recycling setup looked like on this ship. Human ships used a completely different design. But maybe these aliens had found a better way. Zixara watched her in silence for several minutes. Chen could feel the aliens. Confusion growing, though she was not sure how she knew that. Maybe it was the way Zixara kept shifting its weight from one foot to another, or the way its breathing had changed. Finally, the alien spoke again. What are you doing, Commander Chen? Learning, Chen said, without stopping her examination of the room. This is the most interesting day I have had in months. Zixara left the room without saying another word.
Ow.
Chen heard the heavy door lock behind the alien, followed by the sound of footsteps moving away down the corridor. She was alone again, but not for long. The alien would be back. They always came back. Chen used the time to think. She had counted her steps from the landing bay to this room. 47 steps, 2 turns to the right, 1 to the left. The ship was smaller than she had first thought. That was useful information. Small. Ships meant small crews. Small crews meant fewer guards and less backup if something went wrong. She also thought about Zixara. The alien had expected certain reactions and seemed confused when Chen did not provide them. It suggested the alien had experience with prisoners. From other species, it had probably broken many minds before trying to break hers. Question was how. The door opened again after what Chen estimated was 3 hours. Zixara returned, but this time the alien was not alone. It brought a device that looked like a metal helmet with wires hanging from it. The helmet gleamed under the bright lights. This will help us understand each other better, Zixara said, approaching Chen with the device. It will let me see inside. Your mind? How does it work? Chen asked. She looked at the helmet with genuine interest. Zixara paused. You want to know how it works? Yes. Is it some kind of neural interface? Does it read electrical activity in the brain? Or does it use quantum entanglement to access consciousness directly? The alien stared at her. You are supposed to be afraid of it. Why would I be afraid of technology I do not understand? Fear of the unknown is not very useful. Understanding is better. Zixara placed the helmet on Chen's head despite her questions. The metal was cold against her skin. She felt a tingling sensation, like tiny electric shocks running through her scalp. Then the world around her began to change. The white room faded away. In its place, Chen saw the bridge of her ship, the TDF Resilience. But everything was wrong. The walls were covered in blood. Bodies lay scattered across the floor. Her crew was dead, their faces frozen in expressions of terror and pain. Look at what you caused, Zixara's voice echoed in the vision. Your mission failed. Your people died because of your mistakes. Chen studied the scene carefully. She walked through the blood and examined the bodies. Lieutenant Rodriguez was slumped over his console, but his position was all wrong. Rodriguez was left-handed and always kept his weapon on his left side for quick access. In this vision, his holster was on the right. This is very good work, Chen said out loud. Detail is impressive, but Rodriguez would never position himself like that. Has been left-handed since childhood. It is in his medical records. The vision flickered for a moment. Chen could feel Zixara's surprise like a physical presence in her mind. The scene changed. Chen was standing in the ruins of her hometown on Earth. Buildings were destroyed. The sky was red with fire. Her family's house was a pile of rubble. Her parents and sister were nowhere to be seen. They are all dead. Zixara's voice whispered. Your world is burning. Your species is ending. And it is your fault for failing your mission. Chen knelt down and picked up a piece of debris. It was supposed to be concrete from her house, but the texture was wrong. Earth's concrete had a different composition than what she was feeling. Also, the gravity in the vision was too light. Earth's gravity was 9.8 meters per second squared. This felt more like 8.5. The physics are off, Chen observed. Earth's gravity is stronger than this. Also, the concrete composition suggests a different mineral content than what we actually use. Are you basing this on data from other human colonies? They would have different building materials. The vision shook and wavered. Chen could hear something like frustration in Zixara's mental voice. The scene changed again. This time Chen was in a dark place surrounded by her worst memories. She saw herself as a child, failing to save her pet when it got sick. She saw her first mission as a young officer, where 3 people died under her command. She saw every mistake, every failure, every moment of pain she had ever experienced. But instead of breaking down, Chen began to categorize the memories. These are from different time periods, she said, as if giving a lecture. You are pulling from both recent and old experiences. The emotional weight attached to each memory has been artificially enhanced. Interesting, you are using my own brain. It's chemistry against me by increasing the production of stress hormones. She paused to examine a particularly painful memory more closely. This one is from when I was 12 years old. Was not able to help my grandmother when she was sick. But you have changed details. My grandmother's hair was silver, not white. She was wearing her blue dress when she died, not the green one you were showing me. The artificial environment around Chen began to crack like broken glass. She could feel Zixara's growing confusion and anger. Why are you not breaking? The alien's voice demanded. Every other species breaks when they see their failures and pain. Because these are not my failures and pain, Chen replied calmly. These are artificial copies with mistakes in them. You do not understand human memory well enough to create perfect illusions. Also, I already know these memories are real. I have lived with them for years. They are part of me. The visions disappeared completely. Chen found herself back in the white room, with the helmet still on her head. Zixara was standing in front of her, and for the first time, the alien looked uncertain. You are supposed to be destroyed by your own memories, Zixara said. Every mind has breaking points. Every creature has pain that will crush them if they face it again. Humans are different, Chen said. Carry our pain with us always. We learn from it. We grow stronger because of it, not weaker. You cannot break me with things I have already survived. Zixara removed the helmet with movements that seemed less graceful than before. The alien's confidence was cracking, just like the artificial. Visions had cracked. This is impossible, Zixara muttered. I have broken thousands of minds. I have never failed. Maybe you have never tried to break a human mind before, Chen suggested. You might work differently than other species. Have you considered that possibility? The alien stared at her for a long moment, then turned and left the room without another word. Chen could hear its footsteps in the corridor, moving faster than before. She smiled and began to hum her grandmother's song again, the real grandmother. With silver hair and a blue dress, who had taught Chen that strength came from accepting pain rather than running from it? Chen did not see Zixara for the next 2 days. The guards brought her water and something that might have been food. It tasted like metal and plants mixed together, but it gave her energy. She ate it without complaining. Complaining would not make it taste better. During the long hours alone, Chen explored every inch of her cell. She found 3 small vents in the ceiling that carried air and sound. She could hear voices speaking in alien languages she did not recognize. Sometimes she heard footsteps in corridors that seemed far away. The ship was bigger than she had first thought. She also found that the dust in the corner had an interesting pattern. When she looked closely, she could see tiny metal particles mixed with organic matter. The metal was probably from the ship's systems. The organic matter might be skin cells or hair from different species. Each species would leave different traces. She began to sort the particles by size and color. When Zixara finally returned, the alien found Chen sitting cross-legged on the floor, arranging tiny piles of dust in neat rows. What are you doing? Zixara demanded. Learning about your ship, Chen said without looking up. This dust contains traces from at least 6 different species. 3 of them are unknown to me. One appears to be silicon-based rather than carbon-based. That is fascinating. I have never encountered silicon-based life before. Zixara kicked one of the dust piles, scattering it across the floor. You are supposed to be going insane from isolation. Humans are social creatures. They break when left alone. Some do, Chen agreed, but some do not. I have spent months alone on deep space missions. I know how to keep my mind busy. The alien sat down across from Chen, copying her cross-legged position, but looking awkward doing it. I have been studying your species, Zixara said, trying to understand why my methods failed. What did you learn? Disturbing things, Zixara. The voice had a different quality now, less confident. Your species has a concept you call post-traumatic growth. This makes no sense. Trauma should weaken a mind, not strengthen it. Chen nodded. It can do both. But humans have learned to choose which one happens. We take bad experiences and use them to become better people. How is that possible? Practice. Chen said simply. Humans have been surviving terrible things for millions of years. War, disease, natural disasters, loss of loved ones. The ones who learned to grow from pain were the ones who lived long enough to have children. So now we all have that ability. Zixara leaned forward. But the pain must hurt. I felt your emotions when I showed you those memories. You do feel fear and sadness. Of course I do. Feeling pain is not the same as being broken by it. Pain tells us that something is wrong. It helps us learn and adapt. A human who could not feel pain would not survive very long. And how do you bear it? Chen looked at the alien with something that might have been sympathy. We help each other, share stories. We find meaning in suffering, create beauty. From ugly things, we laugh in dark places and sing when we are afraid. That sounds impossible. Let me give you an example, Chen said. She began to collect the scattered dust particles again. During the Great War on Earth, humans were trapped in underground shelters while bombs fell above them. They could have given up hope. Instead, they told stories to their children. Composed music, they fell in love. They planned for the future they might not live to see. Zixara watched Chen's hands as she sorted the dust. Why are you telling me this? Because you want to understand humans? This is how we work. We find light in darkness, create hope where none should exist. We build meaning from chaos. But why? What is the purpose? Chen paused in her work and looked directly at the alien. Because the alternative is despair. And despair helps no one. Hope might be an illusion, but it is a useful illusion. It makes us stronger. Your species sounds insane. Maybe we are, Chen said with a small smile. But we are also still alive. How many species have you broken completely? Zixara was quiet for a moment. Many. Most of them no longer exist. And how many of them had this thing you call insanity? This ability to find hope in hopeless places? None. The word came out as barely a whisper. Chen went back to sorting dust. You know, I have been thinking about you too. Your species feeds on despair, correct? You gain strength from broken minds? Yes, that must be very limiting. You can only exist where there is suffering to consume. You cannot create anything new. You can only destroy what already exists. Zixara shifted uncomfortably. We are very good at destroying. I am sure you are. But what happens when you run out of things to destroy? What happens when you encounter something that refuses to break? The alien had no answer for that. Chen continued her work in silence for several minutes. Then she began to hum again, the same song as before. After a while, she started to sing the words softly. What is that song about? Zixara asked. A bird? With broken wings that learns to fly anyway? My grandmother taught it to me when I was very young. She sang it to me when I was afraid of the dark. And it helped. Not because of magic or anything like that. It helped because it reminded me that someone cared enough to sit with me when I was scared. It reminded me that I was not alone. Zixara stood up abruptly. You are trying to confuse me with your human nonsense. I am here to break you, not to listen to your stories. I am not trying to confuse you, Chen said calmly. I am trying to help you understand.
Hey.
But if you would rather continue with your interrogation, I am ready. What would you like to try next? The alien stared down at her for a long moment. Chen could see something changing in those black eyes. It might have been doubt or curiosity or fear. She was getting better at reading Zixara's expressions. "I do not understand your species," Zixara said finally. "That is okay," Chen replied. "I do not understand yours either, but I am learning. Would you like to learn too? Or would you prefer to keep trying to break something that has already been broken and put back together stronger than before?" Zixara left the room without answering, but Chen noticed that the alien's footsteps were slower and less certain than before. She smiled and continued sorting dust particles while humming her grandmother's song. Tomorrow would bring new questions and new opportunities to learn. She looked forward to it. Zixara returned the next day with new equipment. This time it was not just mind machines. The alien brought tools that looked sharp and painful. Chen recognized some of them as devices meant to cause physical harm. Interrogation was moving. "To a new level, your mind will not break," Zixara said, setting the tools down on a metal table that had not been there before. "But all creatures break when their bodies are damaged. Even humans must feel pain." Chen looked at the tools with the same scientific interest she had shown everything else. They're well made. The cutting edges are very precise. The electrical devices appear to be designed to stimulate nerve endings without causing permanent damage. You want information, not just suffering. Zixara picked up a device that looked like a thin metal rod with wires attached. "This will cause more pain than you can imagine," probably, Chen agreed. "Pain is just electrical signals sent to the brain. The brain interprets these signals as suffering, but the interpretation can be changed with the right training. No creature can ignore pain, not ignore transform." Chen settled back in her chair as if she was about to give a lecture. Humans have developed many ways to deal with pain. Meditation, breathing techniques, mental focus exercises. Some humans can even slow their heart rate and lower their blood pressure while being hurt. Zixara activated the device. Chen felt electricity shoot through her arm. It was sharp and burning, like being stabbed with hot needles. She breathed deeply and began to count backwards from 100 in her mind. The pain was real, but it was also temporary. Everything was temporary. "You are in pain," Zixara observed. "I can see it in your face." "Yes," Chen said between breaths. "It hurts quite a lot, but pain is just information. It tells me that my body is being damaged. Since I already know that, the information is not very useful." The alien increased the power. Chen's muscles twitched and contracted. Sweat appeared on her forehead, but she continued counting and breathing in a steady rhythm. "This should have broken your mind already," Zixara said. There was frustration in the alien's voice. "Why?" Chen asked. Her voice was strained but still controlled. "Humans have been dealing with pain since we first existed. Childbirth, broken bones, burns, cuts, disease. We learned long ago that pain ends if you wait long enough. Either the body heals or the person dies. Both are forms of ending." Zixara turned off the device and stared at Chen. "You speak of death as if it does not frighten you. Death is part of life. Every human knows they will die someday. We accept this fact and try to make our lives meaningful before that happens. Fear of death is natural, but being controlled by that fear is a choice. But you must want to live." "Oh, of course I do, but not at any cost. There are things more important than staying alive." "Like what?" Chen thought for a moment. "Protecting others, standing up for what is right, learning new things, leaving the universe a little better than we found it. Making sure that the people who come after us have more hope than we had." Zixara picked up a different tool, one with a sharp blade. "Perhaps cutting will work better than electricity." The alien made a small cut on Chen's arm. Blood ran down to her elbow and dripped onto the floor. Chen watched it with interest. "Human blood is darker than I expected," she said. "The iron content must be quite high. Also the clotting response is faster than your species, based on what I can see. We probably evolved on a more dangerous world than your people did. You are bleeding and you discuss biology. Why not? The cut will heal. The blood will be replaced. My body knows how to fix itself. This is just another piece of information about how different species compare to each other." Zixara made more cuts, deeper ones. Chen's breathing became more labored. but she continued to treat each wound as a fascinating example of human physiology. She described the pain response, the healing process, and the way adrenaline was affecting her heart rate. "You are not normal," Zixara said finally, throwing the cutting tool onto the table. "No creature responds to pain this way. All humans can learn to respond this way. It's as part of our training. Soldiers, doctors, parents, teachers, we all learn to function while in pain. Physical or emotional pain. We do what needs to be done regardless of how we feel. But why? What drives you to endure suffering without breaking?" Chen looked at the alien with something that might have been pity. "Because someone has to. Because giving up helps no one. Because the people we care about deserve to have someone who will not quit when things get difficult." She paused to examine one of her cuts. "Also, I am learning so much about your species. From this experience, the way you approach interrogation tells me about your psychology. Your tools tell me about your technology level. Your frustration tells me that humans are probably the first species to resist your methods successfully." Zixara stepped back from the table. "What do you mean? I mean, you have never encountered anything like us before. You have a perfect success rate because you have only dealt with species that break under pressure. We do not break. We bend and adapt and grow stronger. That is why you are so confused. This is impossible. No, it is just new to you. Let me ask you something. What happens to your species when there are no more mines to break? What do you do when you run out of prey?" Zixara did not answer, but Chen could see the question had struck something deep in the alien's mind. "And another question," Chen continued. "What happens when word spreads that the great Zixara, who has never failed to break a prisoner, could not break a single human? What will your people think of you then?" The alien's face changed in ways Chen was beginning to recognize. Fear, anger, and something else. Something that looked like the beginning of panic. "You are not supposed to be studying me," Zixara said. "I am studying you. We are studying each other. That is how conversations work. The difference is that I am learning useful things, and you are learning that everything you thought you knew about intelligent life is wrong." Chen smiled, despite the pain from her cuts. "Would you like to know what else I have learned about you?" Zixara backed toward the door, moving faster than Chen had ever seen the alien move before. "Learn that you are afraid," Chen said gently. "Afraid that your entire worldview is built on incomplete information. Afraid that there might be forms of strength you cannot understand or defeat. Afraid that you might be the one who breaks instead of me." The alien fled the room without another word, leaving behind the torture tools and Chen's blood on the floor. Chen began to hum her grandmother's song again, using the familiar melody to help her body begin the healing process. She had work to do. Chen spent the next day alone, but she was not idle. She had torn strips from her clothing to bandage her cuts. The wounds were healing faster than she had expected. Her body was doing what human bodies did best, adapting and repairing itself. Without being asked, while she worked on her injuries, she thought about Zixara. The alien was breaking down piece by piece. Every conversation had stripped away another layer of confidence. Chen could see it in the way the alien moved, spoke, and reacted. Zixara was experiencing something new and terrifying doubt. The energy bonds around Chen's hands had been getting weaker each day. Either the alien was forgetting to maintain them properly, or the technology was not designed for long-term use. Chen had been testing them carefully. She was almost certain she could break free now if she needed to. But she did not want to escape yet. She was learning too much. When Zixara returned, the alien looked different. Its skin had lost some of its purple color and seemed almost gray. Its movements were jerky and uncertain. The perfect predator was becoming prey, and it knew it. "I have been thinking about what you said," Zixara began without sitting down. "About my species running out of mines to break, and it is a problem we have never considered. We have always found new species to hunt, but space is not infinite. Eventually, we will encounter only species like yours." Chen nodded. "Species that grow stronger from pain instead of weaker. What will you do then? I do not know." The admission seemed to cause Zixara physical pain. "My entire purpose, my whole identity is built on breaking mines. If I cannot do that, what am I? It could be something else. Humans change their purposes all the time. We call it growth. But how? How do you change what you are? Chen studied the alien carefully. This was the moment she had been working toward. First, you have to accept that what you thought you knew was incomplete. Then you have to be willing to learn new things, even if they are frightening or confusing. What? Like hope? Zixara recoiled as if Chen had struck it. Hope is poison to my species. We cannot survive in its presence. Are you sure? Or is that just what you have been taught? The alien began to pace back and forth. Hope is the enemy of despair. We feed on despair. Hope would starve us. Maybe. Or maybe it would transform you into something new? Something that does not need to feed on the suffering of others. That is impossible. This was breaking a human mind, according to you. But here we are, and you have not broken me. I have been here for 6 days now, and instead of becoming your victim, I have become your teacher. If that is possible, then maybe. Other impossible things are possible too. Zixara stopped pacing and stared at Chen. You planned this. All of it. You wanted to be captured. Chen smiled, not exactly. But when it happened, I decided to make the best of it. That is what humans do. We turn bad situations into opportunities. For what? To learn, to grow, to understand our enemies better than they understand themselves? Chen looked directly into Zixara's black eyes. I know more about you now than you know about me. I know your weaknesses, your fears, your technology, your psychology. You tried to break me, but instead you broke yourself open and showed me everything. The alien's breathing became rapid and shallow. This was a trap. No, it was an education. For both of us. I learned about your species and you learned about mine. The difference is that I was ready to learn, and you were not. Chen tested the energy bonds one more time. They snapped easily now. Probably because Zixara was too distracted to maintain them properly. She rubbed her wrists but made no move to escape. You are free, Zixara whispered. Why do you not run? Because I am not finished teaching you yet. Teaching me? What? That there is another way to live. That strength does not have to come from hurting others. That you can choose to build instead of destroy. Zixara collapsed into the chair Chen had been tied to for so many days. The alien looked smaller somehow, as if it was shrinking into itself. I do not know how to build. I only know how to break. Then learn. It is never too late to become something better than what you were. The hope... It hurts. It burns inside my mind like fire. That is because you are changing. Change always hurts at first. But the pain means you are growing, not dying. Chen stood up and walked to the door. It opened at her approach, which confirmed what she had suspected. She had been free to leave for at least 2 days, but the alien had been too broken to notice. Or care. Where are you going? Zixara asked. Back to my ship. My people will be looking for me by now, and I need to report what I have learned. About my species? About yours? Yes, but also about mine. You taught me something important too. What? That humans are even stronger than I thought. We are not just survivors, we're teachers. We can take the worst enemy and help them become something better. That is a power your species will never understand because it requires hope. Chen paused at the doorway. You have a choice now, Zixara. You can continue being what you have always been, a creature that feeds on pain and destroys minds. Or you can become something new. Something that builds instead of breaks. I choose to change, then you will suffer. You will doubt yourself. You will feel lost and confused and afraid. You will want to go back to the old ways because they were simpler. That sounds terrible, it is. But on the other side of that suffering is something your species has never experienced. Growth. Hope. The chance to create meaning instead of just consuming it. Chen started to leave, then turned back one more time. The energy signature of my ship is easy to track if you know what to look for. If you decide you want to learn more about hope, you can find me. But if you come as a student, not as a predator. She walked out of the room and down the corridor, following her mental map back to the landing bay. Behind her, she could hear Zixara beginning to make a sound she had never heard from the alien before. It might have been crying, or it might have been laughter. With her species, it was hard to tell the difference. Chen found her ship exactly where she had left it. The aliens had not even bothered to disable it, probably because they had been so confident in their ability to break her mind. She started the engines and lifted off. But she did not engage the faster-than-light drive immediately. Instead, she waited in orbit around the alien ship for several hours, watching, wondering if Zixara would make the choice to grow or the choice to remain the same. When the alien ship finally moved, it did not follow Chen. It turned away and disappeared into hyperspace, heading toward the deep darkness between the stars. Chen smiled and engaged her own drive, heading home with the most important intelligence any human had ever gathered. The universe was about to learn that humans were not just hard to break, they were teachers. And that was the most terrifying thing of all.